To program an MX780, you open up your software. Complete control. New remote. Typically, all our remotes are 780s. Now we need to add a base station. Configure home. Decide whether you have a 260 or a 350. Highlight, select add. Select the RF channel you're going to be using. The RF channel is selectable on the 260 and the 350. So now we have to start creating our remote. So hit create, and let's say they have a cable box. You click and drag over to the location you want it on the remote. Apple TV, Blu-ray. Alright, so that's on page 1. Now for our TV and surround sound, we'll put those on the back page because the customer does not need to access these. Click and drag. Sorry, my fans are not turning on. Let's say we have a surround sound receiver. Save. So you have cable box, Apple TV, Blu-ray, the TV, and the receiver. So now we're going to go to the IR data, cable box. We're going to go down to cable. And then we're going to select what type of cable box we have. For our area, it'll be Spectrum. Highlight the code set you want. Select Save All. And we're going to do this for every piece of equipment that we have added. Apple TV. We're going to go down to Streaming Media Player, Apple, and we're going to do the 5th gen code set. Save all. Blu-ray. That's going to be underneath Blu-ray DVD. We're going to say this one is a Sony. Let's say it's a S500. The TV, let's say it is an LG. Highlight LG, then select your model. We're going to say it's an OLED 77. Our surround sound receiver is going to be a Denon. We're going to find our AVRX 2700. Save all. So now that we have selected the IR data for all our devices, we're going to move to Edit Buttons. Alright, we're going to select Edit Buttons. From here you can move whatever buttons you want in the places that you want. I'm going to select Blu-ray and move the Open Close to the top so it's easy to find. We can go to Punch Through. Save changes. To set the audio for the surround sound receiver, we're going to hit Select All, and we're going to select Volume and AV Receiver. So now all devices will use the volume on the receiver versus the volume of the device. On the main page, I'm going to set them all to cable box, so that on the main screen, without going into the cable box, you can still have full functionality. RF, this is where you assign whether it's IR or RF. You go through and select all your devices and set them to IR, RF. Over here is where you select the base station. Tell each device that needs to talk to the base station what base station it's going to use. We can close this page, save changes. Now we have put in all our devices and IR codes. This is now a cable box remote, this is an Apple TV remote, this is a Blu-ray remote. We're going to highlight the cable box and we're going to start setting up our macros, which tells the remote what we want to turn on and off when we select it. On our macro page, we can hit the record button. And the first thing we want is the TV to turn on. So we're going to select TV over here. Page 1, power on. Now we need our surround sound receiver to turn on. Select receiver, page 1, power on. So now the TV and receiver have both turned on. We should tell the TV what input the receiver is plugged in. So we're going to go through the pages. We're going to find HDMI 1. Now we need to tell the receiver what input the cable box is plugged into. So we go through the pages until we find cable sat. We select it. Since we've hit the record button, as we press buttons on our simulator, it sets the processes over here in your macros. So right now we have the TV turning on, receiver turning on, TV to HDMI 1, receiver on cable sat. We're going to stop the record process. Now the jump is the jump from the main screen to the remote. So we're going to move that to the end of this process. So now, anytime that you press this button, it's going to turn on the TV, turn on the receiver, switch the inputs, and then go to the cable box remote. And we're going to do this process for every device. So now I've selected Apple TV. I'm going to hit the record button. I want the TV to turn on, so we tell it to. We want the receiver turned on, power on. We want the TV to go to HDMI 1. We want the receiver to go to where we have the Apple TV plugged in. I'm going to say media player. We can stop our record process. We're going to move our jump to the bottom of this list. So now TV turns on, receiver turns on, select the input, goes to the Apple TV. Now we're going to do that on the Blu-ray as well. We're going to hit record. TV turns on. Receiver turns on. TV goes to input. Receiver goes to input. We're going to look for Blu-ray, which is BD here. Now we need to tell the Blu-ray to turn on. So we're going to go to Blu-ray, and we're going to hit power on. Stop our record process. move our jump. So now, when you hit this button, it's going to do these steps that we just lined it out on. Now we have a green button up here. I always highlight, right click, copy, and then I go to my green button, right click, paste. So now these two buttons are the exact same. So if they come in and hit the green button, it's going to go to cable. So now I'm going to do our power off sequence. So I'm going to highlight the power off button. We're going to hit record. We want the TV to turn off. We want the receiver to turn off. We want our Blu-ray to turn off. And then we want it to be on the main page. And then we can stop our process. So now if they hit this off button, it's going to turn off all the devices that we told it to. And that is the MX780. At this point, you'd hit your download button, save the file, write in the name, save, and then plug in your USB and your remote and download.